You know, the National Science and Maths quiz is heating up. And Mamavi is right. Some giants fell yesterday. So did Kwabuchi. And they, of course, are heading home to Kotokraba. Commiserations to them. All right. Now, you know, I've been blessed. I didn't realize it at the time, but I owe a lot of who I am today, you know, to the adults in my life who taught me lessons as I grew up. And there were many of these lessons, adults. Of course, at the time, I didn't always realize the value of the lessons I was being taught. In fact, if I'm honest, I was a difficult child. I was stubborn, obstinate, insubordinate, and at times downright ungovernable. It wasn't because I was generally opposed to any kind of authority. No, my problem was that things had to make sense to me before I did them. So I only followed the instructions that I understood. As you know, Ghanaian society doesn't really have the time or the patience to sit a child down and explain the rationale behind every instruction. And as a result, I was constantly in trouble with my teachers, my seniors, and my parents throughout my teenage secondary school years. Of course, the more trouble I got into, the more I felt like an unfairly and unjustly penalized victim. I felt misunderstood, like the whole world was conspiring against me. Now, the only adult I could have a conversation with at the time was my favorite teacher, Miss Linda Ford. Now, she always took the pains to explain the world to me in a way that my hormone-soaked teenage brain could somehow recognize and understand. In addition to the time she spent listening to and advising me on my endless list of issues, Miss Ford would occasionally invite me to her home to share meals with her family. I remember one particularly angst-filled conversation I had with Miss Ford when she was preparing lunch one afternoon. She was cooking ampisi for her family and making a pot of tea for herself. Now, while I moaned on and on about how I hated my parents and my teachers were out to get me and nobody understood what I was going through, blah, 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 blah. I blabbed on for ages while she put 3 pots of water on the gas cooker. And as I chronicled my woes, she placed slices of yam in the first pot, some eggs in the second, and a tea bag in the third. Before long, all 3 pots came to a boil. Now, when everything was ready, she emptied the yam and eggs into Pyrex bowls and the tea into her favorite white mug. Just as I was coming around to blaming God and the universe for my latest batch of miseries, she cut into my rant with her favorite interjection. Kojo, shut up and listen. So I did. She pointed to the yam and the eggs and the tea and she said, I just cooked these 3 things. What happened to the yam when it was cooked? I had a blank look on my face. It became soft, she replied. Oh, yes. Good, she said. Now, the eggs? Oh, they became hard, I said. Exactly. Both were put in hot water, but each one came out differently. Kojo, you are not the first person to be a teenager. You are not the first boy to go to secondary school, and you are certainly not the first kid to think nobody gets him. Many have been put in your situation. It's like being put in hot water. How you come out is what matters. So I started to nod. You know, what she said made sense. So I can either choose to let life harden me or make me soft, right? I asked her. She laughed and said, or you could choose the third option. What happened when I put the tea bag in the hot water? Again, I was blank. Kojo, it changed the very nature of the water, didn't it? That's the real choice you face in life. You can either let your circumstances change you, making you either hard or soft, or you can change your circumstances. My dear friend, in this life, we're all in hot water. It's up to you whether you come out as yam or eggs, or whether you go in like a tea bag and cause a change. My name is Kojo Yankson, and it's breakfast time. How about some tea? Good morning, Ghana.